Hi everyone, my name is Stefano Gridelli. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NetBeez. If you don't know about NetBeez, we're a solution that we monitor the network from the user perspective. We do so by distributing all around an enterprise network and its locations, network of monitoring agent that can be hardware or software. And these agents run active and end-to-end tests. The primary user of NetBeez are network engineers, architects, and managers, but the solution now is seeing also adoption from network operations center teams, as well as help desk and IT support to really handle the first response and first level of ticket escalation. So the challenges and the way we help distributed organization is really by helping these teams to detect a problem that users at remote site experience, but also really save time troubleshooting this problem at remote sites. We really complement existing network monitoring solutions such as SNMP-based tools or NetFlow or passive technologies. We say that SNMP is great to monitor routers, switches, or access point, so to gather device status information. Passive technologies such as NetFlow is great to gather IP accounting information in your networks, understand how your links and bandwidth is consumed, find top talkers, top application, and that's where NetBeez comes into play, really helping detecting remote issues as soon as they occur, as well as troubleshoot them efficiently. So there are really like 4 use cases where we see NetBeez benefit our users. First of all is proactive detection. This is the typical use case where an incident occurs on a Sunday or over a weekend on a system, and nobody is aware until 8 a.m. on Monday when users try to log in the network and somehow they cannot access the resource. This is a situation that we want to detect with our active end-to-end testing. The second one could be, for example, troubleshooting. Typically, you don't know when user escalate problems. Is this a network? Is this an application issue? Or maybe it's something with the Wi-Fi. So we've built in the incidents within NetBeez, which are critical conditions that aggregate a bunch of alerts, whether under an agent, a target, which is a monitor application, or a Wi-Fi network. So we really understand quickly, really isolate the issue within one of these 3 elements, and then we give like really an area where the network engineers can focus the troubleshooting efforts, for instance. The third one is performance monitoring, and this is the typical baseline or network performance metrics that everybody should be aware about all your network segments or locations. So things like packet loss, round trip time, throughput, and so on are really important measurement that everybody should be aware on a 24/7. So here is where we gather real-time, but also store historical data for this measurement from all your location when you have a Beez or an agent, and then you can use this for trend analysis, but also really build your baseline in terms of network performance of your network. And lastly is the end-user experience that gets often delivered with a Wi-Fi sensor that connects to your Wi-Fi network to the access point, like a Wi-Fi client, and gives you information into Wi-Fi metrics and user experience to web or cloud applications, as well as information such as DNS resolution time, for instance. We help many distributed organizations. They have many remote sites from medium to large size enterprises with a distributed network. And the architecture is a solution that really can be on-prem with an on-prem OVA or virtual server, or the server can be hosted in the cloud. The sensor is the one that is doing really the measurement at the remote site. The sensor, again, can be hardware or software. So then we'll see a little more details about the different options in terms of deployment. The Beezkeeper is really the steam engine that is doing all the heavy load, collects in real time all the information from the remote sensors, crunches that data and generate alerts and baseline, of course for alerting, but also for visualization and display on the user dashboard. And from the server is also the point for the API calls. So we released 1.5 years ago our public API, and we see a lot of adoption because NetBeez now is not only used by the network engineer through our NetBeez dashboard, where you can configure and manage the bees, the targets, and troubleshoot your network problems, but also you can gather that data through an API call and publish the data on a third-party application or in a public service status dashboard. For example, we also have a GitHub project that provides a template, and I'll talk more about APIs in the later slides. Sure, we'll have some questions. These are the bees that we have. As you can see from the Raspberry Pi, we move on to many different other options. Clearly, we can run on small single-board computers such as the Raspberry Pi. Those have a gig interface, but cannot push really more than 300 megabits per second. So for the gig, there is the Intel Up board, can push up to 940 megabits per second, which is pretty good. We have our custom Wi-Fi bees and panels in the later section. Will tell us more about that, and the integration with the Cisco Catalyst 9300 in the other section with Surya from Cisco. On the software side, we have the Linux package that can run on existing Linux host, whether it's a server or an already deployed machine at a remote site. We have VMs. We just released the Docker Beez. That was long-waited, and that's actually what is running behind the Cisco Catalyst app hosting. And then, of course, we have a cloud sensor. And those are very useful, not only to monitor a cloud infrastructure, but also to have an external point of view into your monitoring. So in your dashboard, you can troubleshoot maybe connectivity issues to an external website by comparing your on-prem agents with your cloud agents. So you can put everything together.
I'm trying to find a place that you can't put an agent.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think of one is what I mean, because I see, all right, so the 9300, obviously, I could start listing platforms that you didn't mention. That's silly. But the 9300 is a very, very ubiquitous access switch, both for closets and then even in top of rack, right? I can put it in AWS, Azure, GCP, private cloud, because I can just deploy it in software.
Yeah.
So I can just throw it in, okay.
In a Linux. Yeah, really, it's pretty ubiquitous.
I almost just reviewed. I know I wasn't asking a question. I just wanted to get confirmation.
Yeah. That's the goal, really, like extend monitoring endpoints wherever your network extends, so you really have a full coverage onto your network. And the beauty then we can see with other tests, you can really then generate traffic, synthetic traffic between all these network locations. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and also the Docker clearly gave us a little extra help to also potentially install your Docker Beez in an end-user client, which is something that before we didn't really do. For example, yeah, you could have loaded a VM on your desktop with maybe VBox. It's not very convenient. But with Docker, we noticed that with Docker Desktop, it's much more easy now to deploy a client like I have in my laptop. It's been 2 years or 3 years since we came to TechField Days, so some product updates. This is mostly in the front end. Of course, also on the back end, we did a lot of updates. For example, the server, we containerize also the server architecture, makes it more scalable, more flexible, also to push more frequent updates on a quarterly basis to also our on-prem customers, because we still have majority are on-prem customers, although we see more also having hosted dashboard on the cloud. But from a user perspective, the updates, clearly the Cisco Catalyst 9300 integration and the Wi-Fi SSID opt-in and the new Wi-Fi sensor we'll talk in the next session. What I want to talk about today is the network performance monitoring API. We see a lot of interest on that. Again, it's a good way to gather all that nice data that we have in the NetBeez central server and publish and share it with maybe other groups within the enterprise or even the actual end users, right? Yes? So
I'm talking to customers right now about the Catalyst 9000 series, and sometimes the conversation of SD Access DNA comes up. Is there anything that you could speak to about that? Because that's going to be a conversation I have more and more as I start ripping out old Catalyst and putting all 9000s in.
So about like running NetBeez on a Catalyst 9300.
Well, specifically that platform, and then at the same time, I'm running, DNA Center and an SD Access deployment. Is there any kind of visibility that there is? I mean, because there's some overlap there.
So DNA Center clearly is a powerful tool that has many options. Right now, the integration with the DNA Center is for the deployment of Cisco NetBeez hosted app on Catalyst 9300. And what we do is mostly like, say like IPSLA, but from the end user perspective in the user, in the data plane. So this is where like we're complementary in that regards, because by running a Docker B, as we call it, the Docker agent in the Cat 9300 in the user space level, you can really see an IPSLA, but from the client perspective.
So one of the things that you mentioned was the idea. That's still not emerging technology, evolving technology. The whole SDA concept with most of my customers, but they are excited about like getting closer to zero-touch provisioning, quote unquote. Right. You're saying that you have integrations where I'm not going and touching my switches after the fact to install agents. I can do that as part of that process?
Yes, correct. And actually in the next session...
Making it as easy as possible.
Yeah, exactly. In the next session with Surya, we're going to show a demo on how that works. It's very like seamless. You load the app. With a few clicks, you can really deploy Beez to hundreds of switches.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have also a documented procedure via CLI that shows you what happens in the backend on the switch from a configuration perspective. And that's also a good way to understand what's happening actually within the Catalyst 9000. Yeah, but pretty cool, yeah. Because basically it's like a Docker app running on the switch. Okay. Which we also had an integration before with the native container, which is based on KVM, but this is definitely a step ahead. So performance API, clearly we want to share the network metrics and measurement collected by the Beez with not only the network engineer managers, but ideally the support team, the NOC team, and maybe with end user by building service status dashboards. So what you see here is our template that is available on GitHub. It's based on PHP using our public API version 1, which is mostly a GET API for now in JSON data model. And with that, you can get all metrics such as results from ping, DNS, HTTP, and traceroute tests. Those are real-time tests that everybody probably knows about. Then we have tests such as Hyper for TCP and UDP throughput, network speed, and voice over IP. And those are scheduled tests, so they don't run as frequently as real-time tests, but they give you understanding of throughput of your network and MOS score. And the last one is Wi-Fi metrics, so some more information about the access point or the Wi-Fi network that you're associated to.
Do you have like a GitHub where you're posting some scripts on how to do this to help people?
Yes. Actually, if you search on Google GitHub NetBeez dashboard, you'll find our project page. Okay. Yeah, so you can download that basically code base and then change it at your best. And if you need any help, we have online documentation, or also can reach us out through our website. We have a small chat. Yeah, I can then share that link.
Oh, it'll be on Twitter in about 10 seconds.
Very well.
Getting that out now.
Good.
There it is.
I'll just retweet it.
All right. So maybe I want to talk a little more about our API, just to give you, something that we're trying to really push more as we see a lot of value out of it. So give you an understanding how it works, really the basics. This is an example of our API call, GET call, together results from a ping, DNS, HTTP, or traceroute. So in this example, all you have to do is insert the API keys, which is generated on your NetBeez dashboard, and of course add the URL of your NetBeez dashboard, and then refer your test by test ID. And then once you execute this query, this is the example of the result. So you get the timestamp of that result, sequence number, of course the test ID, passing argument, and the value, right? So for instance, this was a DNS test, I believe, and that was the result of that DNS test expressed in seconds. You can do the same with a ping test, you can do the same with an HTTP test, and so on. This one is the example of a API call to gather information about a scheduled test. So whether it's a NIPER, TCP, UDP throughput test, whether it's a network speed test, or a voice over IP. We do a voice over IP test like IPSLA kinda. So in the VoIP example, we have the source B, the destination B, and then the exchange UDP packets conform to the code that you have selected. So in this example, it's a UDP test. So you can see that I reference the test ID of the scheduled test. And as a result, I have the jitter value, the packet loss, and then the packet sent and received, and lost, sorry. So again, this is data that you can use based on your measurement and think about how many integration or dashboard you could use. It could also be used really for other systems to understand how the network is performing and maybe adjust the network based on this measurement. And the last one is about the Wi-Fi metrics. Again, API key, dashboard URL, and the agent ID in this case pass as argument. And as a result, you would get results such as the signal level of the client connected to that BSSID, link quality, bit rate, channel, transmit rate, and receive rate. And these are all the values basically that, for example, in our public dashboard are displayed. So if you want to learn more, I'll publish, of course, the GitHub project. And clearly, we have like all the API documented. We also have a Swagger endpoint in case you're interested in learning more. Of course, more information. You can request a demo. We offer like a 15-day trial or a full on-prem proof of concept. Typically, we ship 3 hardware agents, and then you can load 2 software agents on your dashboard. The dashboard can be hosted on the cloud or hosted on-prem based on preferences.